All right, we're good to go.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Happy to see you here this first day of April. I can believe it and I can't believe it all at the same time that we're in April already. We are going to try to stick to our timeline of a half an hour today. I just have a few updates and then I want to give some time for questions or feedback. As you know, we are busy working on our phase 3 transition and making the adjustments we need to make to bring back as many as about 85% of our students. We are adjusting lots of things. We sent out our survey. We had to make some decisions at elementary around class lists and changes and getting students where we think is the best place for them for these last 9 weeks. We're adjusting transportation. We're adding some bus routes. We are moving desks and adding plexiglass shields and getting ready for additional lunches and supervisions and mask breaks and all sorts of things. I'm going to give the principals an opportunity here in a minute to talk through anything that they'd like to add to what we're kind of working through or anything they'd like to put out to the group. But basically, before I do that, I continue to meet with the health department. As you know, COVID numbers are on the rise, although hospitalizations and deaths are down, which is really, really great. April 12th, any eligible adult 18 and over in the state of Illinois will have the opportunity to get vaccinated, which is really amazing and great news. Pfizer has approved the vaccine for children 12 and up, so we believe that's coming soon. The health department is planning right now. They're planning now for mass vaccination for students of that age, at least, probably beginning in the summer. And probably with some kind of a situation like our educators in Lake County had with vaccination pods that would be closed pods for students. So schools and school districts are looking into their volunteering their facilities and trying to find places that are centrally located so that we can get students in and vaccinated, specifically middle and high school students, which have been affected a lot by this situation. So although the numbers are up, a little bit up from where they were the last time we met, it's not concerning yet for us and certainly not changing our plans. The Lake County Health Department has taken the school data hub off of the main site, but the information is still there. So if you are interested in the specific metrics, you just need to go to Lake County Health Department and click on COVID-19 stats, and then you'll be able to see all of the things we still see, the zip code data, the hospitalizations, positivity, incidence rate, all those things. Health guidance really has not changed. There's a few things that have changed, but really overall, the big one was moving from 6 feet to 3 to 6 feet, which is why we're, able to bring back more students. That's really, really great news. But in terms of what defines a close contact, that is still defined as anyone who comes within 6 feet of a confirmed positive COVID case for more than 15 minutes. And so we are still experiencing that. And actually we are experiencing the uptick as well in our schools. We definitely have heard of more cases in our homes, more cases of students. We've had to do some quarantining ourselves since we've come back from spring break. So COVID has definitely not left the scene yet. So we're working through it and we're making sure that we keep everyone safe. I do want to reassure people that the goal here is to get back to a situation where we're more normal, than and more like we were in the past as quickly as we can. There's no intention to kind of stay with these health guidance, health precautions longer than we need to, longer than we're advised to. I think it's feeling like it's been a long time that we've had to do this stuff, and it has been. It's been a long time. It's been a year that we've been worried about this and had to do these things, and nobody envisions this for schools. We know it's hard on our kids. We know it's hard on our teachers. We're trying to, certainly keep learning at the forefront of what we're doing and making decisions that are best for that. But as we're planning for phase 3, we know we're going to have more students in school. We know we're going to have more exposure. We know there'll potentially still be quarantines and lots of contact with the health department. And so we aren't there yet. We're not at the finish line yet, but we are feeling confident and ready to bring as many of our kids back that want to be with us. And with that, I'm going to give principals an opportunity to share anything that you'd like to. If there's anything to share today, kind of about what you've been working on or what challenges you're experiencing or anything you'd like in terms of feedback from this group.
Kelly, should I go first? We joke about the unmute button and seeing who unmutes first. I'll go for it. So first of all, I wanted to provide a quick update on the number of students that are going to be in person versus remote at the middle school. Right now, we're at 85% of our families electing to have students sent or in person. In 6th grade, it's 84%, in 7th grade, 84%, and 8th grade, that's 89%. So lots of students returning to 5 days, and we're very excited about that. I want to first acknowledge probably the biggest challenge that creates for us, because we still will have students accessing school from home, which will require our teachers to be doing what we're calling a blended model. And we have teachers who've been doing it either just on a trial basis, and we have others who've been doing it on a pretty regular basis, but the vast majority of teachers have not been. And so we've been working to give it a dry run. We've been working to rely heavily on those who've tried it out and to hear from them and learn from their experiences. And I'm really just super proud of our staff for diving right in and preparing for that blended learning model. What I will also say is that I've had quite a few conversations with families about how things are going to change, regardless of whether they're in person or remaining at home. And so I'll give a quick overview of how things are going to change and sort of my my talking points as parents have asked those questions. I'll also be clear that we're going to be pushing out kind of a new orientation presentation. Hopefully by the end of the day tomorrow, Mr. Jackson and I are still working to put that together. It'll go to all families, but I would suggest that those that are moving from fully remote to in-person want to definitely take advantage of that presentation and listen to it carefully, because there's going to be a lot of important information for them. In essence, the things that are changing is that we will no longer be offering asynchronous instruction. Instead, all students will be synchronous all day for all of their classes. That's regardless of whether they're at home or whether they're here in school. One of the other big things is that students will actually be traveling throughout the building. They'll be going to classrooms and they will be in the classroom with their teachers. That's a big shift for us here at the middle school. And I know for a lot of families, that was really one of the big ones, was being in a classroom with their teacher. Now, what I can't tell you is that it's going to look the same as far as the model every day. Teachers are very good at identifying their outcomes for a given lesson and identifying the best way to work toward achieving those outcomes. So it could be that the kids that are in person are still going to be on a laptop, Zooming in so that they're able to interact and be part of the class along with those students that are at home. If that lesson for that day makes sense for the teacher to do it that way, they will. There could be the opportunity to actually close the laptops for the kids in person and be Zooming in with the kids that are at home. And again, it just depends on what we're looking to achieve in that lesson. One of the things that I have tried to draw a distinction between for families is that we've worked really hard up until this point to deliver the exact same experience for kids here in school as we have for the kids at home. That's because everybody's been on Zoom and everybody's been Zooming from the same room here in school. I will tell you that when we shift on April 12th, that won't necessarily be the case. I will tell you that it will be a parallel experience for our students that are at home versus kids that are here in school. In other words, they'll be learning the same material, but they might not be doing it the exact same way, and they won't be having the exact same experience as the students that are in school. They're not going to be moving through the building. They're at home. They're not going to be going into a classroom with their teacher because they're at home. Will they be getting exposure to the same content? Absolutely. Will they be able to talk to their teacher and ask questions? Absolutely. But it won't be the same. And part of why we've been pushing out communication about that is so that those folks that are at home understand the difference. Now, what I want to reiterate really firmly, if I can, for our at-home families and the kids that are going to be accessing from home, is that it's so important to us that we can see your student and that we have the opportunity to interact with them. If their camera's doing this, and I'm just going to give you an example, that's how it looks right now for a lot of our kids. That's not something we can really continue to do. I want to really enforce it. If your child has a discomfort with being on camera, we have an alternate option for them. We can accommodate them here in school if you're comfortable doing so. But if they're not comfortable on camera, that's going to be a conversation you have to have at home with your student. We need to see them on the screen. We need to be able to communicate with them. Very often teachers are reaching out, trying to ask questions of kids at home. They're not responding because they might not actually be in front of their computer at that time. We're not going to have asynchronous work. So if they're between 10:30 and 3:30 every day, you can expect your student to be on their computer with the exception of lunch. And if they're at home, they will have a break during what would be their PE time. The remote learners will still be doing PE at 8:30 before the start of our regular school day, but PE will be part of our actual day for the in-person learners. The other thing that I would ask of our families, and we're struggling a bit with it right now, even with our 10:30 start, is with all of the processes for getting kids self-certified, getting kids into the building, it's a burden, frankly, to our staff to be checking kids in if they're arriving after 10:25. We really need our students, all of them who are in person, to be here by 10:25 so that we can ensure that everybody's been self-certified and they can efficiently get into the building and into their classrooms by 10:30. The start of the day, as far as I'm concerned, is not 10:30. The start of our day with students is 10:25. That gives us 5 minutes to get them in and ready to begin learning at 10:30. Pretty good with the self-certification. I want to thank those that are continuing to do that every day. Our numbers of kids that aren't being self-certified continue to dwindle. We have some folks here and there that are forgetting, but for the most part, that's been pretty good. So that's the really quick high-level overview. We'll also be reminding kids, and we've been flexible with them on the hats and the hoods, in part because kids are wearing hats and hoods at home and they're all on a screen. And we've asked a lot of our kids. But as we return to something that looks a little bit more normal, that opportunity that a teacher has to read the body language and make eye contact and see that they're engaged and understanding becomes much more important. So I've given the students here at the middle school a week and a half to mourn the loss of their hats and hoods, because on April 12th, we'll no longer have that as part of our school day. I've also reminded them about cell phone expectations. Moms and dads that are listening, I know it's super easy to shoot your kid a text. They're not going to get it if they're doing what I need them to do during the school day, which is to turn the phone off and put it away in their backpack. Please don't expect your student to be able to receive and respond to text messages during the school day, because we need them engaging in their classwork. So we would respectfully ask for your cooperation on that, and we'll remind our kids, turn them off and put them away. I sound like a complainer this morning. I'm sorry. I'm being very blunt, but we're super excited to be welcoming more students back to the middle school. We've got a lot of staff who are just, can't wait to get kids back in the classroom and see more of their students. And so we obviously have a lot we've got to maintain to keep that going and make that work well. But I'm so proud of our staff for the work they've done to prepare for it. That's all I've got for now.
Thanks, Nate. Sound like a principal to me, especially a middle school principal. Really quickly too, I'm going to remind folks before I turn it over to Kelly, one thing that we did talk about in some communications was that, we have created a really seamless system for folks that are in and out of school. And we've been pretty flexible in terms of where kids can learn from. We are asking now that kids do not log on to remote learning if they're on vacation. And when they're at home, that's fine. If they're quarantining at home, that's why we did what we did, because we want to make sure that learning stays continuous for the kids that need to be home for illness or quarantine. But vacations are really distracting. It's distracting for the student themselves. It's distracting for their friends and for the teachers. They typically don't have their materials. Sometimes they're in the car. The situation that Mr. Blackmore was talking about in terms of the camera, it's tough. It's tough for our teachers trying to do a hybrid situation as it is. And we want to make it available for the kids that have to use it. But at this point, we're asking that if you're on vacation, please enjoy the vacation, have a good time, and then we'll deal with the learning later. And if you're at home, then please feel free to log on to remote. Kelly?
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to deliver a summary of kind of our shifts to phase 3. It's going to look a little bit different than what Mr. Blackmer has delivered because our buildings are different. We started the year with some differences, and we even have really nuances, subtle differences at each of the grade levels, whether it be the number of sections, the number of students enrolled, the current status in terms of the number of students that are remote or in person. So I think it would be helpful, as opposed to the percentage of students that are at home at remote, I want to share where we're at in terms of the number of additional students coming in, or the number of students that are shifting from hybrid, currently coming in 2 days a week, that will be shifting to coming in 5 days a week. So I'm just going to break it down by each of the grade levels. For our pre-K 3 section, we have 1 additional student coming in. For our pre-K 4 section, we have 3 additional students coming in. For our kindergartners, there are 7 additional students coming in. We have 15 first graders that are going to be starting in person with us. 13 second graders might be currently be hybrid, shifting in person, or are fully remote coming in person. We have 18 third graders, 9 fourth graders, and 28 fifth graders. Now the 28 fifth graders seems really high. That is because there's a number of fifth graders that are currently hybrid that are shifting in person. So in terms of breaking it down too much, but that's where we're at. So a high number that are making some adjustments. And this is really exciting. I think it brings relief to some families. It brings relief to teachers that we can have kids here in the building for a full day with us and have a different level of access to them. So the changes are more subtle here, but I think it's important for me to list a few of the things that either are currently happening that you may not be aware of, or are some subtle differences and changes. So I am going to be, similar to Nate, sending out some information presentation to all of our in-person families so that we can communicate to new families coming in or reiterate our in-person practices, so we can have just aligned expectations on April 12th when everyone comes back. We are opening 2 additional sections, so 1 at the first grade level and 1 at the third grade level. So we'll have 2, we've created space for 2 additional classrooms here. I want to talk a little bit about that asynchronous or recorded instruction. There's a lot right now around the definition of live teaching and what that means and what that looks like. I think it's important for parents to know that some of our lessons at various grade levels and in the different content areas, it will and may still be recorded. And this is for a variety of reasons. At some grade levels, we have teachers that have sort of become that content area planner, and they're delivering the instruction. They're taking a lot of important ownership over that content area, whether it be reading, writing, math, social studies, or science. They're doing all the planning and prep for their team. And so that really helps teachers to be able to do all of the work that is necessary this year. So you will still see some recorded lessons. It also brings some relief to our internet and network here if we have things that are recorded, as opposed to the strain that the Zooming may present. A lot of those recorded lessons can be paused. So there's still interaction, questioning, and dialogue, conversation between teachers and students. We are going to, though, continue to make every effort to either close the device or push it back if needed, depending on how students need to access their teacher. So it remains a huge priority, which it always is around this time of year. We're hitting kind of our home stretch, that engagement tends to be something that we stumble with during these spring months. So we want to continue to keep our learners engaged so that they can really maximize learning for these last weeks of school. And then I think classroom community continues to be a huge area of importance. So allowing students to feel valued, heard, connected, and have really strong relationships with their teachers and their classmates. I want to also point out that we value routine and consistency. So we want to we want to do everything that we can to make these last weeks meaningful, but the subtle changes also matter here at the elementary level. So students really have been, and teachers have been so extremely successful in both settings. We want to continue to look at that. It's not too late to make changes when needed, but we do value the routine and the consistency. Another change, just worth noting, it's more at the teacher level, but there's some movement within the building. So I want to just acknowledge and thank and appreciate. We've got teachers that have been in our rooms upstairs where the wall opens. We've closed some of those walls, and teachers have shifted to one side. So that brings a level of planning and adjustment. And so I want to thank the teachers who have close the walls and are sort of resituating in their classrooms. I want to thank staff members who are in offices that might be moving for a third time this year. So we've really become minimalists here. Or, a lot of staff members are like, I can pack up and reset up in about 45 minutes. I got this down. I'm good. So just thank you to the staff for their flexibility. And I think that's their new routines for students. So I've been going to this office to meet with this specialist. Now students need to go here. So we're just going to prepare for all of those transitions. And then I met with our kindergarten team this morning. We're really thinking carefully and critically about our 7 little ones coming in and what's that going to be like when they get out of their car, and how do we have staff members available to make sure that they start things off right and they're comfortable here coming in school. So those are kind of the highlights that I think have been or are meaningful for those on the call today to hear and be aware of. Definitely open to questions if there are any out there. And I want to thank our district office team also. The transportation piece has been an ongoing moving target. So we're adding additional transportation. And I just want to thank everyone for all of the logistics that's gone into this third round.
I don't really have a question, but I would like to thank everyone for all of the logistics that have gone into this third round as well, and for these updates. I know it was a really big ask from the community to shift again, and you guys really have risen up to the challenge, and everything sounds great. And I hear a lot from the community how appreciative they are. So I want to make sure that you all know how appreciative we all are. Thank you.
Thanks, Ann. Any questions or thoughts? We do still have some regular type business to do here at the end of the year too. I'm sure that if you have students that are older than 3rd grade, you know that this is assessment time of the year, and we're still going to be doing that. We have a few assessments that we typically give this time of year. One for sure is our MAP assessment, our NWEA assessment, that is actually for 1st grade all the way through 8th grade. And that is the assessment that's typically given 3 times a year. We gave it in the fall for everyone. As you remember, we brought everyone on campus to do that assessment. We are going to be doing it again this year. We're looking at a window around the beginning of May. We will again be asking as many students to come, even our remote students, if they can, to join us on campus and take that assessment with us, especially students who need any kind of accommodations. That's really the most instructionally supportive assessment that we have for students and for teachers, and it will be good data for us as we consider summer plans. We're building a summer program. Parents know that there are opportunities to come and have your child learn with us in the summer. So we're building those. The data we get from the MAP assessments, from our common assessments, will be really important for us as we're designing that learning experience. And then the state has not waived the accountability measure of mandated assessments, and those are the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, that is for 3rd through 8th graders, and then the Illinois Science Assessment for 5th and 8th graders, the Access Assessment, which is for our 2nd language learners, and that's all the way from kindergarten through 8th grade, the DLM, which is for some students who have special learning circumstances. So we have those mandated assessments coming. At this point, we are going to be pushing them back as far into the year as we possibly can, and we'll be sending some communication home for families so that you understand kind of the specifics around the assessments this year. Although we still need to give them, some of the accountability measures have been waived. So participation percentage has been waived, and some of the assessments themselves have actually been taken off the table. Lake Bluff is a very lucky district that usually gets to field test new state assessments, and they are not having us do that this year, even though we were identified to do it. They've taken that off the plate, which is great. They've taken some of the ELA assessments. It's a very, very long test. They've taken some of those units off of the plate for some of our students. So our state is really trying to minimize the impact that this will have on loss of instructional time. We are also planning to minimize that as much as possible. That assessment will not be used for accountability this year at a state level. So there's nothing about that assessment that's going to show up on our state report card as a ding for us as a district. And we will not be using the IAR data or ISA data for anything, any decision-making here in Lake Bluff District 65 either. So although we need to administer it, we're looking at creative ways to be able to do that so that we minimize its impact on the amount of time. That is a very long assessment for students. So more information will be coming on that. And, you know, we look forward to having our kids back. We appreciate the flexibility of the community as we've worked through all these different iterations of schooling this year. And we appreciate certainly the parents who have had to at any point, which would be all of our parents from the beginning of this crisis all the way back in March until today, who have had to educate their students at home and keep them remote for any length of time. That would be all of our parents. We know that it's difficult. You know, many of our administrators are parents. We all understand. We all understand the toll it takes on the family, on the students, on the relationships, and we are looking very much forward to having our kids back in a more normal situation and getting to work on addressing any of the learning gaps or instructional gaps that have taken place between March and now, and get ourselves back on track. Anything else from the team? Okay, folks, as you know, our doors are always open. You can email us anytime, you can call us, stop by, and we're happy to talk through anything with you or answer any questions, or if you have feedback for us, we love that too. We appreciate your time as a team. These have been really helpful meetings for us. We couldn't have done it without you. And that being said, we hope you get out, enjoy this first day back. Baseball season's here. We're getting back to a more normal situation. So everybody have a great day, and we'll talk soon. Take care.